And I just turned around and I hauled ass out of there. I was done. I wasn't dealing with that.
The hypocrisy of the cult is one of the things that turned me away the quickest.
When I turned my headlights on, it turned and looked at us, and one of the things I remember the most were the eyes were glowing red.
I see an orb of light. It is just circling these steps like it is waiting for me.
And he begins to tell them that he saw a UFO. They're basically like, what are you talking about? That's 7 foot up on a tree, peeking around it, and that's where I saw the top of the muzzle, nose, and the eyes. As soon as I made eye contact with this thing, it felt like death.
I'd like to take this time to welcome my guest tonight, Mr. Brent Thomas. Thanks for coming on here and talking to me.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I'm thrilled to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to come on your show. Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those last minute things. I had a couple guests cancel. When I say couple, like, I think it's the third time I've had this night booked. I've had people drop, and then someone else got them on there, and they're like, "Oh, I had to cancel." So I was like, "Well, I've got enough recorded, but it's always I already had this base set up to record." So glad you were able to hop on here tonight and talk to me.
Yeah, I love doing other people's shows. It's kind of easier, when you're doing a show, when it's your show, as you well know. I mean, you've got a lot of responsibility in that. You got to get everything working. It's got to be recording. You got all these bells and whistles to attend to. But I like being the guest where I just show up and just talk.
Yep.
So this is perfect for me, man. I love it.
It's weird for me because when I'm a guest on someone else's show, like, I have to do all the talking, it seems like, and I'm on my show, I don't do a whole lot of talking. Because if anyone knows me personally, I'm not a very outgoing or talkative person. Like, I'm very calm, demeanored, reserved. I only speak when I feel like I need to. So that is weird when someone's like, "Oh, you got to come over and talk." I was like, I don't like talking. Like, I don't like being a guest on people's shows. Like, I'll just enjoy listening to people. Like, I'm the observer, I guess. Like, I sit in the corner and I guess I'm the creep. I sit in the corner and just observe people.
No, that's perfect, man. I do think though that you've got to come over and come on the Paranormal Portal podcast, because I'd love to share your story to our listeners. I know you've done a few shows talking about what you've experienced, but if you wouldn't mind, man, you got a quid pro quo here.
Yeah, we'll get something set up here in the future. I've got some stuff that I can talk about.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, I love doing this stuff. Like I said, the big impetus for me has always been just trying to understand it. I've had a lot of experiences of my own, and so it's really kind of driven me to look for answers. And I don't really pretend that I'm ever going to get this all sorted out.
Mhm.
But whatever's going on in this stuff is so profound. It's so powerful. It's transformative to the experiencers. Like, it changes people's lives. How many people have you talked to that are like, I hunted and fished and was outdoors all my life until I saw this thing, and then it changed everything. And their whole life has changed. Their whole paradigm has changed. And so, I don't know. It might be a real lofty, ambitious goal, but I'm really honestly looking for answers. And I love the opportunity to meet new people and to talk about these ideas and just, throw thoughts back and forth, because unfortunately there are no experts in any of this, but I think we all have ideas, and that's really fun to discuss.
I just had an interview recently, and for anyone out there listening, you will be the probably episode before this one came out, but I talked with Vic Cundiff from Dogman Encounters, and we kind of had the same conversation. I said, I don't believe there are experts out
Right.
there. There's a lot of people that say they're an expert, and the first person that calls himself an expert is the biggest red flag to me. Because
Yes.
if you have to call yourself an expert, I don't really think you are. Like, if someone else refers to you as an expert because you've done a lot of research, you have a lot of knowledge, and you've earned that title,
Right.
but you're going around patting yourself on the back and calling yourself an expert. So to me, it's just like, eh,
Yeah, yeah. Like it's I'm the world kickboxing champion. Just ask me, I'll tell you.
right.
It's like, yeah, probably not.
Mhm.
Probably not. But yeah, I agree. But there are a lot of people out there that are patting themselves on the back and blowing up their own importance, and it's to each his own. I mean, if that's what you want to do, I guess you can do that. But I just think I don't know. If you're on an ego party, it's probably not the right field for you anyway.
Yeah. That's don't come into a paranormal cryptid UFO realm and think that you're going to be the end all be all know it all, because
Yes.
there is so much information out there and it's hard to figure out anything. And the truth of it is, this is why I do what I do. I wanted answers, and it's a hard pill to swallow to know that I probably will never come to terms with what that answer is, because as
Yeah.
much as I'm trying to figure out things, I find more questions than answers.
Absolutely. And the other problem is in this field. I mean, if we're just talking about these fields of the strange and unusual, whether that's ghosts, whether it's UFOs, whether it's cryptozoology or strange phenomena. I mean, there's this reckless ideas being thrown at the phenomena, and in that if some and the other part of it is that there's somebody will just have to say, well, Bigfoot is actually a mutated garden gnome, and they like to live in tunnels under your cabbage, and they come up every once in a while and eat kittens or something. Well, there would be a whole bunch of people that would grab right onto that, and it's like, but how can you quantify any of this stuff, and how come? And so there's this really big phenomena of both just bizarre ideas of this phenomena being thrown out there, but then a lot of people that are just willing to subscribe to any idea without any kind of cognitive process applied to it.
Hmm.
And I think that's also kind of a liability to all this, because anybody can say anything, and they can say they're an expert, like you're saying, and they can say that they absolutely know because they channel Pleiadians on the weekends when they're doing crossword puzzles or whatever, and that's what they were told. But there's a whole groups of people out there that'll grab onto that and swear it's gospel. It's
Right.
like, wow. So I mean, there's all kinds of things, and I don't mean to pretend to be an arbiter of truth here, but I think that it's just important to look at this stuff objectively and through the eyes of a skeptic. I think you really have to look at this stuff like a skeptic would, and apply logic to it. And granted, a lot of it is defies logic anyway, but if you look at the body of reports that are out there of people that are experiencing this stuff, after when you get enough stories, when you get enough explanations or people explaining their experiences, you can start to pick out hallmarks that are consistent, and at least those are some kind of benchmark in order to extrapolate maybe patterns, maybe things, a system of events that seem to correlate in a wide body of reports that then maybe we can apply and understand it maybe a little better. Maybe we can help to aim our research efforts at the phenomena more accurately using these bodies of reports. You kind of become like an FBI profiler looking for a serial killer. You
Hmm.
look for these patterns, and I think that the anecdotal reports are valuable. And honestly, that's the only constant we have in any of this stuff is people's experiences, and hopefully their willingness to come and discuss it, because for every story that's told, we stand to learn something new, and that makes it valuable. That's just my opinion. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I agree, especially when it comes to people that have these experiences and they want to be able to share them. Like,
Yeah.
that's the whole concept that I had for this show without really knowing what I was doing or anything about it. Like, but for me, I wanted to give a place to talk to people that had experiences something like what I did, because, and to be honest, it was me wanting to find answers, but I also want to talk to other people so I didn't make myself feel so crazy for having these experiences. Because
Yeah.
the moment you talk to the average person that hasn't had an experience of anything, what's the first thing that most people are going to do? They're going to roll their eyes and be like, oh, this guy's crazy over here. Or like, what were you smoking or something, and
Yeah.
they just don't believe it. So it's easier to talk to people that can relate.
Yes. Yep.
And by talking to people and listening to people, you can start to piece things together.
Yeah.
And then you can start to see patterns to stuff and like, well, this has happened to this person, this has happened to this person, this is a similar instance. And that's
Mhm.
what I've been doing on my own right here recently, just for recent stuff around my area. Because I'm trying to make a documentary, and
Oh,
it focuses on all the weird stuff that's around here, because I've had so many people that have talked to me about seeing quote unquote werewolves.
wow.
And then there's been stories of weird paranormal stuff through here since as far as I can remember. Like even when my mom, she grew up around this area, she's always heard the same stories. So there's so much local legends around this area that it's a lot of history involved with it. So I've been digging up. I've got interviews set up with people. I've recorded some stuff. We've already filmed some stuff. So I was like, there's a lot of things that I've already done.
Mhm.
And I just keep digging up more and more stuff. So if everyone is able to talk to someone else and everyone actually is able to listen, like you have a show, I have a show, there's all sorts of podcasts. We kind of discussed this earlier. Like there's so many podcasts out there. If everyone was able to actually get all that information, you can start to see how similar a lot of this stuff is. And does that mean people are just making it up because they heard it on this person's show? No, it just means that there is something going on, that people are having similar experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a surprising amount of consistency in a body of evidence, in a body of reports, and the more people that come forward and tell their story, the more that hopefully we can build those patterns and figure out how it's happening, why it's happening, I mean, you can learn what do people do that maybe pushes them away, what happens, what did, like, for instance, putting out trail cameras in most cases is like the best way to keep these things away from your house, because they don't seem to have any trouble seeing them and
Right.
noticing them and having an idea what they do. So if you're being troubled by some kind of cryptid, hang out trail cams, because that is like the anti-cryptid for whatever reason. But also, what were they doing that brought them in? And in most cases, it's just being interesting in some way. And it kind of makes sense if these things, like, just, for the cryptids, these things are out in a forest and they're from the forest. That's where they live, is in the forest. And they've probably seen most everything the forest has to offer. And then come a bunch of campers, with their colorful things and their gadgets and the lights and stuff. And it's like, ooh, what's this? And so they come in. They come in and they want to see, they want to understand. So there's this real huge curiosity aspect to them. But, more times than not, it's not the people going out there looking, hunting for the signs that encounter or have these incredible encounters. It's, Phil and his family out on a fishing weekend, just being Phil and the family. And that just draws them in. And so those kind of things obviously emerge through, again, a body of reports of looking at different aspects of what's going on. Maybe it's loud music, maybe it's you got some kind of projector and you're showing a movie to the family out in the woods, or whatever, any number of things. But yeah, I think witness testimony really is the holy grail right now, to try to at least get a basic understanding of the phenomena, and to learn more about what triggers these things, what repels them, what do they seem to find interesting, and how can we utilize that then in research efforts. Don't go out there, trying to sneak through the woods and find one, eating a woodchuck. You,
Right.
you just hang out and you'd be you, and you pay attention, and so, yeah, I think that'll be the biggest tide turner, and has been maybe the biggest tide turner in at least throwing new ideas, because in a lot of, and again, going just using cryptid research and Bigfoot specifically, a lot of people are doing the same stuff that they saw in Finding Bigfoot. We're going to go out and smack a tree with another stick, and then we're going to go whoops, and we're going to holler and make noise, and hopefully that'll draw them in. And I mean, it's kind of played out, right? I don't think these things are stupid. I think they're intelligent, and they probably realize that's the shtick people do, you know?
Right. I've always thought this. If Bigfoot is smart enough to be as elusive as it has been,
Mm-hmm.
some person's going to walk out in the woods and pick up a stick and start banging on a tree and start doing a big woo, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like, oh, look, and make a call back because it thinks it's one. It's probably already knows you're out there. It's probably looking at you like, look at this idiot. Like, that's my opinion. Like, I know my opinion don't matter. I'm a nobody. I don't know anything. But
Sure.
it's like, that's how I would see it, though. Like, I can't see this creature being gonna fall for this, and like, especially like the TV shows that go out there.
Mm-hmm.
You have your whole crews of people that are out there doing it, and it's not just Finding Bigfoot. Like, I've watched all sorts of shows,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
and like for what I want to do, it's just gonna be me and another guy.
Yes.
I don't want a big crew or whatever. Like, I'm just doing what I'm doing because I think when you go out there with a bunch of people, all you're doing is making more contamination for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're bringing in more extra noise. You're bringing in more extra bodies for.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard the noise. Well, jackass over here just stepped on a stick. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, and for all the shots, you know, Finding Bigfoot probably was never going to find Bigfoot, but they did find sponsors, which I guess helped them out.
Yeah.
But the thing that I loved about that show was, and I really think it moved the needle more than any other modern event in just creating the discussion. Like, it was a very popular show, and it introduced the concept to a lot of people out there that were like, wow, maybe there's something to this. And it got people talking. And it also made it more okay for people to talk about it. And I mean, look at pre-90s. You know, you'd never hear people talking about Bigfoot except for on the extraordinarily rare, you know, I mean, pre-90s there really wasn't much of an internet, but like In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy in the 70s, that was like this one-off or modern mysteries or whatever, you know, unsolved mysteries. Might have kinda- yeah, yeah, exactly. So I mean, it would be just this hiccup kind of thing that would appear once in a while, but following Finding Bigfoot, suddenly, you know, and not just them, but it was just that the discussion got rolling. Now you can go anywhere in the United States and find Bigfoot stickers on the back of trucks, you know, and much like the one on your wall there. I mean, it's just like, yeah, that is such a common thing now, and I always think it's really neat because it's like finally okay for people to wave the flag and go, yeah, I like that. I think there's something to that, you know, and you can see it at a glance, just looking at the truck in your grocery store or supermarket parking lot, and it's like, yeah, there's some squatchers out here.
that is one of my biggest things I've wanted to do, and then I get afraid of doing it because I don't want to be that weirdo. But I see people with Bigfoot stickers.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go and leave like one of my cards there because they can scan the QR code and go to listen to the podcast. But I'm like, I'm going to be the person walking over to someone's vehicle to leave a card, and I'm going to get yelled at and get in a fight in the Walmart parking lot because they think I'm bothering their vehicle.
So I went to a conference last when was it? Last September in Vernal, Utah, and it was called Phenomicon. And I know the guy that did it, but what he did was, you know, he has a show himself. He went out in the parking lot and literally canvassed everybody's windshield with his cards. And I I went out on the final day, and the parking lot is peppered with all these cards. People are like, God, yeah. And so I think you're right. I don't think that's probably the best approach because I think it irritates people. It's like, God, you're going to shove that crap down my throat. So yeah, I think you made the right choice. But I can I can understand what you're saying because you're like, oh, maybe this person would enjoy it, but I think yeah, you start messing with people's stuff and touching their stuff.
Right.
It's
I,
a
I
whole
wouldn't
different
like it if someone did it to me. So that's why I wouldn't do it to them. I,
right,
I
exactly.
saw someone wearing a Bigfoot shirt, and I said something to him about Bigfoot, and
Hmm.
it didn't go into a conversation. It was very like he didn't want to talk. So I was like, oh, okay. So I left it alone. So that was the only time I've ever approached somebody. I was like, well, I chanced it and it didn't turn into a conversation. So I was like, I'm not gonna bother with people anymore.
So it was like this. Hey, you like Bigfoot?
Pretty much. That
Fair
was
enough. Yeah.
that was exactly how it went. I was like, "You like Bigfoot?" He's like, I like the shirt. I was like, oh, okay, well, good shirt, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the other thing is you have to think about it in this aspect too. And I don't think about it sometimes, but like you're going up to a stranger anyways, and you mention something, even if they did have an experience, they're going to look at it as the same thing as like what most people look at it when you tell them you had an experience. Well, I ain't gonna tell this random person that I like Bigfoot. They're gonna laugh at me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because it's generally, I think for most people that have experiences with all of this stuff, it is a very personal thing. I mean, it's not just like, hey, I saw this great show on TV. It was like, no, this happened to me and it scared the hell out of me, and it changed my life in most often in pretty uncomfortable ways, and it changes their paradigm. And so they may still throw on the Bigfoot shirt, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily ready to talk about it. Yeah.
I went to I've been to a couple different conventions this past year. I'm signed up for several this year too, and I was at the Indiana Bigfoot convention,
Hmm.
like the first one that they had done, and I had a Bigfoot shirt. I've had some Bigfoot stickers, like so. I did decently there. I was one of the only couple podcasts that were there, and I'd done decent with that. And I had a lot of people come up and talk to me. One of my recent episodes was a lady that I met from there. But I had so many people come up and tell me about their stuff, like what happened to them.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, if you ever want to talk, here, can I give you my card. Yeah, I haven't heard from anybody. So I don't know if the stigma is like they want to talk about it when they're in that setting, but when it comes time to be public about it, everyone's still very, very hesitant to talk about it. Like they'll come be like, hey, look around. They'll tell me like we've had some weird stuff going on around our place. Like, oh, and they tell you about it, but then no one else, they don't want anyone else to hear. There's
Right.
still that, I get it. Like there's
Sure.
still that weird stigma. And
Hmm.
at some point it'd be nice if there wasn't one, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
No, probably not. Because the thing is I think people are fiercely defending their paradigms, and so even if somebody does have an experience, and it can be these incredibly profound experiences. I mean, I can't tell you how many stories I've run through over the years that start out with, I don't believe in ghosts, but, and then they'll go into this incredible chain of events where this amazing phenomena was going on around them. And then at the end, but I still don't believe in ghosts, but I don't know what that was. It was like, it was a ghost. I mean,
It sounds like me.
yeah, right. But I think, people's paradigms are their safe space. That's the world that they understand. And when something comes and challenges that and takes them way out of their comfort zone and puts them in a place that they don't know, they don't feel comfortable, they don't feel empowered, they feel like they're absolutely the victim of something. Well, they just want to return to that safe space. And then there's the other people that just haven't had an experience. And then to challenge their paradigm just verbally, like, hey, did you know this or this or this? Like, that's BS. That's a bunch of crap, because they just don't want to go there, you know?
I, and this might make some listeners angry or whatever, because I've already been criticized about this. Because
Well, let's do it. What's up?
uh, I got some really bad comments left to me because I let people come on here and talk about whatever they want to talk about, and I am very shut off from pushing any sort of religious agenda on people.
Oh,
And
yeah,
because I have my own stuff, like what I believe in, but I don't push anything on anybody.
right.
And because I'm apparently shut off from that, uh, I'm out here spreading bad juju around or whatever. But But I think like it depends on who you talk to and how they react to certain things. Just because from how I was brought up, a lot of this stuff isn't real. And
Right.
the religion that I came from, like from what I grew up into, a lot of this stuff just doesn't add up because it doesn't align with what was told in the Bible or anything like that. So for me, that's just the way I grew up. It's like, oh, this stuff wasn't real and this and that. And like,
Sure.
but now everything, and this is where I struggle with, a lot of people think everything is demons. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what it could be. Everything is now being pushed as demons and Nephilim and everything else. And it's like,
Sure.
what happened to the days when ghosts were ghosts and Bigfoot was Bigfoot and aliens came down, they abducted people, and like now everything's like being pushed this way. I was like, if me again being Mr. Tinfoil Hat Man, I feel like that would be the agenda to throw everyone off from what's really going on. You're wanting to push that narrative now. But
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I was on Coast to Coast, and I did an hour of talking and then
Mhm.
an hour of phone calls, and I got a lot of people calling in because I was talking about ghosts and investigating, and
Mhm.
I got a lot of the Christian people calling in, and some of the regular callers would call. That my cousin's a regular listener. He's like, "Man, last time I heard somebody get attacked like that was when they had the Satanist guy on there." And I'm like, and I'm not that, but it's tough because to me, religion is a very personal journey. I mean,
Yeah.
you can be in a body of believers following a certain system, but you're going to still have your individual journey. You're going to have your individual ideas like that. And when I was fielding those calls, it was really tough because how can I substantiate my spirituality against these callers who are calling to challenge what I'm saying, and because the Bible says this or the story of Saul and all of that. It's like I can't defend my spirituality against yours because whatever I believe isn't going to fit into your box, but vice versa. What
Hmm.
they believe doesn't fit into my box, and this is my personal journey, and that's the tough part about religion is that it can be so incredibly judgmental, and it can draw these boundaries and lines because that's where these people are with their walk of faith. And I love religion, don't get me wrong. I think that anybody who's searching to understand and to apply a divine virtue and to follow the divine in their lives is wonderful. But I can't substantiate my belief and my faith and my ideas against your spectrum of ideas and beliefs. And so it's a losing battle. It's something that how do you beat that? How do you do that? And I'm with you on my shows. I don't get into religion at all. In fact, I say, I don't care what you believe in. If you're a good and virtuous person and you're, trying to abide by what you understand as divine law or guidance, more power to you. It's not up to me. I'm not fit to judge you. I'm not fit to tell you that you shouldn't look at things this way because of this, and this. But having faith, I think, is so important, but it's tough because yeah, I certainly get those too. It's like, well, I don't know why you're talking about this. Now, it's a very Catholic point of view that there aren't ghosts, and there are only God and angels, and then these other things, the devils or
Hmm.
the demons and stuff. And how can I argue against that? How can I say no, you're wrong? I think there's more stuff. Well, I do, but I can't hope to impress that upon their belief system, nor do I feel it's my place to. It's people have to come to their own understandings. And so for when you get those, it's tough because how do you do it? I don't know. I still don't know when
Yeah.
people call in with that, and I don't want to attack them or just say, well, you're an idiot for believing that because this is what I believe, and I mean, it's just never going to go well.
No.
So yeah, I keep it out off of my discussions too.
Like for me, if people want to judge me because I don't come out here and force, I didn't make this to be Sunday school. Like this
Yeah,
was this was not my thing, and that's what literally I was getting attacked about is because I wasn't forcing religion. I was like, well, I never made a religious podcast. Like this is not what my intent was. So if that was what you thought you were joining up to listen to, like, I'm sorry, but this is not. Like, my podcast has an E on it for explicit because there's a lot of things that get talked about that are not straight up kid friendly, family friendly. Like,
Right.
I'm
Yep.
not out here dropping F bombs every left, right, but there's a few times where I might drop an F bomb because you know what? It happens.
Yep.
Like, and that's my show. Like, I've had this happen a few times. Like, people ask me, like, what words can I not say? Because I cuss. I was like, if it's your natural way of speaking, just talk. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like phoning it in. I don't like things that be unauthentic. Like, I want someone to come on here and be themselves. I want them to be comfortable. I want them to be able to talk
Hmm.
and not worry about certain things. Now, I do give them there are certain words that I don't say, and I won't say them because it'll get me banned on YouTube because it's happened before. But there's certain there's certain words that can't be said, and it's not cuss words, but it's other words that we won't dive into.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think especially through the pandemic, we all of us that were presenting videos on YouTube learned to walk that tightrope as best we could. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
got
what
it.
came up with things, the poke and the coof and
Yeah, I got shut down once because someone made a comment about a certain political figure
oh,
that was the potential antichrist, and for some reason that got flagged. I was like, what? I was like, of
yeah.
all the weird things that get talked about on the show, that was the weird one. So,
That doesn't make a lot of sense, but
um,
yeah. I mean, the algorithms are a whole nother chess game that obviously I haven't really cracked either. You know.
for my YouTube channel or whatever, like I know some people say there's no such thing as shadow banning, but some people say there is shadow banning. I really don't have an idea, but I just know like it feels like my YouTube channel's non-existent half the time.
Right. Well, I gotta say there's something bizarre going on with YouTube, and I notice it every time I'm about to tick another 1,000 subscribers. And maybe your listeners aren't interested in this at all, but I'll get this net positive every day. So many subscribers. My channel's very modest. I only have 14,200 subscribers on my YouTube, but it's always at a net positive every day, until I'm about to tick another 1,000. So from 14 to 15, from 10 to 11, whatever is happening in that span of those like last 10 subs, it'll go up 3, then down 5, then up 2, then down 4. And it's this weird teeter-totter thing that doesn't make any sense. And it never happens any other time that I go to a net negative on subscribers until I'm about to tick another 1,000. And that to me has to be artificial somehow. And I know that YouTube's always getting rid of a bot account, and God don't I don't encourage bot accounts, and I don't have fake subscribers that I know of, but I'm sure they come along for whatever reason and they happen. And so sometimes you lose some counts, but it always ends up being in that positive. Like I might gain, 13 one day and then go down 5, where I think, well, it's probably some fake accounts they just blasted, and it just they happen to be subscribed to my channel. So, but whatever's happening in that 10 subscriber window before you tick another 1,000, it's absolutely freaking maddening. It just drives me crazy. And
I
it can't be coincidence.
I noticed on today, I'm a very analytical person as part of what I do for my job. So
Oh,
I'm a numbers guy,
uh-huh.
and I try not to pay attention, but I'm OCD about it because it's literally what I do every day. So I still pay attention to the numbers and the analytics and stuff. So like I'm always looking at things.
Hmm.
I noticed that like I had gained like 2 people, and then the next day I lost 2 people. Like
Yeah.
what you're saying, like it's weird, but I don't usually lose a lot on YouTube. I
Oh,
struggle with Apple, which is weird. Like my Spotify, I have like 4 times as many subscribers on Spotify than I do Apple, and usually
wow.
the other way around.
Yeah, that's a big anomaly because everybody I know is always hitting the big numbers on Apple, and then my second is Spotify, which didn't used to be the case, but I've been really promoting my Spotify.
Yeah, for some reason I'm really, really bigger on Spotify, like by thousands of subscribers on Spotify than I am compared to
Uh,
Apple. I don't even have 1,000 on Apple, but I have
oh,
like 3,000 on Spotify.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. I've not heard of that before, honestly.
No one else has either. Like, how do you get so popular on Spotify? I'm like, I have no idea. Like,
Yeah.
it somehow happened. Like, people listen on Spotify. But those are the only two that I can see. I can see Spotify and I can see Apple. So I don't know what else is out there, who other the platforms or whatever, because
Right.
this is just the two that I'm able to actually check.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I get the whole breakdown of every I think it's every podcast player on Earth, and a lot of them are really inconsequential. Like there'll be like maybe 50 downloads or 10 or something. But on on the higher end, it's like tens of thousands on Apple, and then a couple tens of thousands on Spotify, and every cycle that they map. And so Spotify's growing, and I think that again, I don't know if that's the discussion you want to have on the show, but I find it very interesting, just like you. But I think Spotify is really moving up into in position as far as being a podcast platform that people choose.
Yeah.
So
If
you're
anyone,
probably ahead of the curve.
if anyone listens to the show, they know that doesn't always revolve around the weird stuff. Sometimes when
Okay.
other podcasters, we talk about stuff that they probably don't give a shit about.
Well, we do.
Just in case other podcasts listen out there too, you never know. You got to appeal to a wide audience.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
No, it's for me. Like I said, I still don't know what I'm doing. I never will tell people. Like I don't even tell people I'm a podcaster. After I left, like when I was leaving recording with Tony, I went down to Tennessee to record with him in person. And when I was leaving, he's like, "How many episodes you got?" And I told him. He's like, "You're a podcaster." I was like, "I don't say." He's like, "No, you're a podcaster. You're a podcaster now."
Yeah.
I was like, to me, I'm still a metal guy. I'm still doing band stuff. I haven't done band stuff in almost 5 years now. But it's still there. Like I'm going on 3 years podcasting. So I guess I need to come around to the point and just say, yeah, I guess I'm a podcaster now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you are. You are. So I think you embrace it. It's just another aspect of the facets of your diamond. That sounded good, didn't it?
I usually don't release video. Like I've never actually released a video in like this. I just do a static image video, but I'm honestly thinking about releasing this one. So if you're out there listening on YouTube and you're watching along and this is actually a video, you've just watched the very first video ever released that was in this format.
Ooh, featuring me. That's awesome. That's an honor, brother. Thanks.
Almost 99% of my interviews, no one's ever on camera. So
Oh, really? Okay.
like when I interview people, it's usually through Zoom, but no one has a camera on. So
Right.
like,
Okay.
what am I going to release? I just have always just done static images, and
Right.
that's just how I go about it. Because before, the hosting platform used to make the videos for me,
Oh, okay. Okay.
so they always just uploaded the artwork, and then but they just stopped doing that recently. So in the last couple of months, I've had to start making my own videos, and
Oh,
I know other like Matt makes all of his own videos anyways, but I
yeah.
never did because I'm lazy and don't have the time to do it. So
Sure.
I just let it do it automatically. So it's like it's less work for me to do. But since they stopped, now I've had to start generating videos. So I've been debating on this year actually doing more live videos like this because I think that might actually help the channel grow.
I think it's great. I think it's one thing I've noticed, and I'm way backlogged on my video version of my shows for the podcast. But one thing I've noticed is that I think it helps the listeners to connect because they can see us having the discussions, and even if it's not live, it's just that I don't know. It maybe makes us more real. I don't know, but I've noticed that it definitely helps, especially on Spotify. Because that's along with YouTube and Spotify are like the big places to watch video podcasting. So
I didn't even realize that Spotify until recently was doing video.
yeah, I've been uploading some videos over there when I get them done, and the numbers actually go up quite a bit. I think there's quite a few people paying attention to video podcasts, and I think we have Joe Rogan to thank for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
is, well, this might also be the first Spotify video too.
there you go. Might as well. Yeah, I think it's great, and it's easy enough to do. Just go to the Spotify back end, hit the episodes. If you're a podcaster, you got the creators end,
Mm.
and then just the three dots next to it, it'll say upload a video because it'll already be uploaded. If you're on an RSS feed, it'll probably already be there. You just click on the three dots and say upload video, and then it's like literally 2 steps, and you're done. So very
Nice.
painless.
I don't do a whole lot with video. Like I said, I usually just do the static image stuff, but this is a new year. So for me, I'm going to try some new things because I set a goal and I don't know who would listen. Again, this is more podcast talk, so I'm sorry to bore the audience, but like, I don't know anything about how podcasters are rated or charts or how things go, but like listen notes. Someone told me last year about listen notes, like where your podcast is ranked globally or whatever. And I was like, okay. So I set a goal that I want to be ranked in like the top 1%. I'm top 2.5% right now. So I was like, I didn't meet the goal, but I went from top 10% to top 2.5%. So I grew according to, I don't know how the hell they figure out anything, but so I think your podcast is like a top 0.5% or something like that. Like you're like way up there. So
Oh,
it's like, I don't know how they figure out their algorithms. I don't know how they determine any of this stuff. I don't know what it's based off of. I don't even know if you could say throwing a dart at a board and be like, oh, that's what you're ranked. I don't know how that works, but
they do it on IAB ratings for downloads and amount of listens and the amount of time listening. You know, there's a lot of metrics that are applied to that. But yeah, I mean, if you're in the top 5%, you're doing pretty good.
no. So I'm top 2 right now, top 2.5, something like that.
That's awesome, brother. Very cool. Yeah,
It-
you're on your way.
Just for I didn't even start promoting the show until like less than a year ago. Everything was just word of mouth. Like I didn't do social media or anything like that far. Like I had a page. Never sent friend requests to go add my or go like my page or anything like that. Like I still don't. Like
Right.
I made that separate account that we talked about earlier, and I talk to people on Facebook. But other than that, I don't do any sort of promoting. So I don't know. I'm counterproductive sometimes, I guess.
Well, I mean, life happens though too, right? I mean, there's some shows out there that have teams of people doing stuff for them, and it's like, wow, this guy does the video, this guy does the social media, this, you know, and I'm a one man show myself, you know, so I don't have the team of people. I just got, you know, the show is doing well enough that I can do this for a living, and that's great. But you know, so I don't have to compete with other aspects other than family, you know.
Right.
So that helps. But yeah, I mean, it's a labor of love though too, right?
Mm-hmm. So
It's
I've
pretty
got a wife and 4 kids from 13 to 3. So
Oh yeah, that's a whole busy place. I only have a 9-year-old in the house. I got a couple of adult sons, but they're out on their own. So yeah.
yeah, the kids are all involved in stuff, after school stuff. So it's like right before I got on here to talk with you, I had to go pick up my son from basketball practice. So
Oh, gotcha.
I get here and I roll back in here. I come out here, I was like, well, it's 39 degrees, so I go in and put on some warmer clothes. And
For what it's worth, I can't see your breath, so it
Yeah.
must be a little.
I got the heaters cranked up, so I'm sure I'm gonna have like another super high bill for like the 2 hours of being out here, but I'll turn it back down when I go back inside. No, it's a labor of love. It really is. Like
Yeah.
I don't have any like set goals.
Mhm.
I know that's like weird, but like for me, like I didn't have any sort of plans or goals. And to be 100% honest, I never even expected to be doing a podcast at this point. Like I started off doing it, I talked to a few people, and I figured I'd get over it here after a couple months and like be done with it. But now I'm still going. So I don't know if it's my stubbornness.
Yeah, maybe. But I think that's the big thing. And this is more podcast talk, but so again, my apologies to your listeners too, but I mean, everybody has the idea of doing a show, but most people give up before they've ever had a chance to even get any traction. Because I think there's this idea that, well, I'm going to do a show, so I'm going to put my name in lights of my show, and I'm going to put it out there, and people are just going to flock to it, and then I'm going to make a lot of cabbage, and it just isn't that way. And I always tell people, look, if you're going to get into this, just know that this is a marathon, not a sprint. You know, this isn't a, they're very, very rarely do people just create a show and boom, it's just famous. It happens as these off anomalies here and there, but generally speaking, you got to be in for the long haul and work at it. And then people find you.
Yeah, that's my thing is I'm trying to figure out how to get people to find me. Everyone's like, oh, you go on other people's shows. And like we talked about earlier, I've been on a lot of shows, but like I personally don't like doing that. So again, it's counterproductive. But like I don't like all the focus on myself. Like I think that's part of the reason why I don't do camera because I don't want to be on I like the mystique of the show of people not knowing. I want people to understand like it's more mysterious. Like you don't see the person, you don't know who the person is. There's more an anonymity to it, so you don't understand like
Yeah.
the people are more comfortable because they're not on camera, I think too.
Sure, that can certainly be the case. I know, like for Vic, it's been an incredible thing. Like I've had Vic Condiff on my show a
Mm.
couple of times, and one of the biggest things I get is people email me, go, "What does he look like?" And I'm like, "I don't know." He was not camera, but everybody's dying to know what Vic looks like,
Like
and
I
I think
didn't
that
I didn't think about not to interrupt, but like I didn't think about this, but I should have asked him when I talked to him. Like I see stuff all the time and they don't think he's a real person.
he's an AI. He's got to be an AI.
That is the one thing that I've seen on Facebook when people like comment about him, or I've seen on other things like is Vic a real person? I was like, have we got this far into the AI that people don't believe he's a real person because they've never seen him?
It's just a modulated voice. Yeah, no, I mean he's a real guy, and he's been at this for a long time. But a great guy. I mean, he's a good. It's a great interview. People loved when he was on the shows for sure.
Yeah. So I've known Vic now for about 2 years, so he was good to me. I've got no complaints. He was kind enough to come on the show last night and talk with me.
Very
But
cool.
I like I'll talk to anyone.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
I don't have like it's weird like the criteria for my show. Like I've had people that written books
Hmm.
and they didn't have any experiences, but they wrote some stuff. Like one of my recent episodes, a lady writes scripted themed comic books.
Oh, okay.
I had her on there and I let her promote her stuff or whatever, but she had like very little experience with anything, but I don't know if my audience likes it. Like,
Uh,
but I don't, I actually just said this to Matt. I said, I don't understand what I'm supposed to be like because I'm so broad. I can go from conspiracies to aliens to cryptids to paranormal to whatever. Like the spectrum's so big on my show that
yes.
I don't know what the audience wants to listen to because literally it could go anywhere.
Sure. That's a tough one too, and that's something that's you never know. But I know that for my show, and I think a lot of it is because I just had so many closer relationships in my history of doing shows with other cryptid shows like Bigfoot and Sasquatch Chronicles, Bigfoot Odyssey, and several along that vein. And so I know that a lot of the people that ended up coming over initially were from the Bigfoot world, and so I know for me to do Bigfoot shows generally is kind of a ringer show for me in a lot of ways because there's such a huge audience that's aware of my show that have come from that background. And of course, having Vic on, Dogman is a huge one. His episodes have always done extraordinarily well. On the YouTube side more than anything, I think the podcast is more even keeled for having a very diverse audience.
Hmm.
But on my YouTube channel, it's definitely a huge cryptid audience that has become part of my world and wonderful people. But yeah, I always just look at the metrics, like how did that episode do? Ooh, that one didn't do as well, so maybe not that again. I mean, that's about all we can do is just look at how did it perform versus everything else. Okay.
Well, random ones that I've done that I thought were going to be episodes that most people probably wouldn't want to listen to are the ones that typically do the most. Interesting.
I know, isn't that crazy? I've done some shows and be like, God, I don't know. I don't think that interview went well. And they'll just be amazing performance wise, just so many people tune in. Oh, I love that episode. That was really cool. I can't wait till you have so and so back. And it's like, wow, well, that went way better than I thought. And it's usually not any aspersions at my guests. It usually has more to do with me, how I feel like I did during the show, and did I facilitate things, and did I do okay? And there's some shows you get done with like, God, I just was an idiot the whole thing, and then you get all this wonderful feedback. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
more of that. But you're right, you can't always trust your own gut on what's going to work and what's not. The listeners will let you know.
I've had episodes that I thought were going to be amazing,
Yeah.
and nope. It's like,
I gotta tell you, that surprised the hell out of me. And actually, Wes told me, he said, you can have celebrities on your show and stuff, but it's really not going to do much. You're going to be surprised. And I was like, so I had George Norrie on my show, which was really cool. I reached out to him personally and got in touch with him, and he agreed to come on. And I was like, oh man, it's going to be a huge show because I'm interviewing George Norrie. And this is going to be amazing. Like, I'd never heard George interviewed. He's the interviewer, but I got to make George my interviewee. And he's a wonderful guy. George Norrie's a really fantastic guy. And it was just so much fun. And it was an honor to interview him. But Wes was right. I mean, I've had Ronnie LeBlanc on, Dave Schrader, and Mike Ricksecker, and Amy Bruni from Kindred Spirits.
Mhm.
And those episodes have generally done actually underperformed, which I was shocked at. I was like, wow.
Nope.
But there's something to that. Like, I mean, maybe
I
it's,
had I had Mike Ricksecker on a couple, probably about a little over a year ago now,
uh-huh.
and it didn't do very well. I thought
Yeah.
it would do very good because I was like, well, I know this guy from TV and everything else, and it
It's,
it just didn't track well.
I know, and we had a great conversation. It was like, it really cooked my bacon, the things that we, got into and discussed. And I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. This is going to do so well. And just crickets, I mean, it did okay. I'm not saying any of these shows were absolutely horrible, but I was thinking they were going to be the ones to carry us, to a whole different level, but they really didn't. It was more of, Phil out in the swamp that saw, a dog man. And that's the one that blows up. And again, it's not a popularity contest, but it's just the listeners will tell you what they want to hear and see,
One of my biggest episodes that I have that still continues to track really well was episode 13. So over 2 years ago, it's my 13th episode. I'm on like 100 and I've got 180 something recorded to this point. That one still gets a lot of plays every day. And it's called Ancient History, Ancient Aliens.
Oh,
But that's what we talked about in the episode. So I think because of what it's titled,
yeah.
it keeps getting people
Through the door. Yep.
the door. And it's always been big on Spotify. And I think that's why my Spotify numbers have grown that way, because it seems most of those plays for that come on Spotify. So I don't know if they label me as something on there and it just automatically keeps kicking up. But like
Oh, okay.
for the last 2 years in a row, that's always been my most popular episode. I was like, that was one of my first episodes I ever recorded. It's one of the most popular episodes. I was like, and that was with just another person. Like, it wasn't anything super, no famous guy. Like, I've had these people come on from bigger shows. I've had people come on from TV shows or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
And it just like doesn't do much.
Right. Yeah. It's surprising. It really does baffle me because you think, well, they have a celebrity name, they have a celebrity presence, and that should make people go, oh, well, hey, there's that name. I know that name. Let me check out what they're saying. And surprisingly, it just didn't work out that way. But again, they were still wonderful interviews, and I know they were enjoyed. It's just in my mind, like I had it
A little
like,
more.
yeah. I mean, it was gonna be, oh, this is gonna make me a household name. I interviewed George Norrie. Nope. It's just not the way it works.
Right.
But
So
yeah,
that's how my mind worked too. Like this past year, and I don't want to keep name dropping previous guests, but like I had certain ones on here. I was like, I recognize that person from TV. I just saw that guy on Netflix.
yeah,
And then like the episode comes, I was like, really? It's just like a normal episode. Like I thought I was going to do a little bit better.
Yeah, it's strange.
I
It's a
thought
strange world. Yep.
you never like the other day. My numbers were a lot higher than what they normally are, and I was like, "Well, that's cool." Then the next day they were lower than what they usually are. I was like, "What is going on?" Like the fluctuation doesn't make sense. But
Yeah, that's another weird thing, just in the terms of podcasting. It's like there's been times where I've taken a few weeks off,
mhm.
and still, I get those same weekly spikes around the days when my new episodes would come out, and it surprised me. And sometimes my numbers climbing in the charts. I used to look at a site called, what the hell was it called? Uh,
One chartable.
Chartable. I was looking at Chartable just see how where I was standing, and it was like, well, I haven't done a show in 3 weeks, and I moved up like 5 positions. It's like, wow, maybe maybe my absence is good.
When
But
I was on Tony's show and his episode aired about a month or so ago,
mhm.
I took screenshots because I'd ranked so high on the charts from just people coming from his show to come check out my show.
Oh, cool.
Like I was in that thing, and on Apple it showed me in like one of the most popular shows, and on Chartable I was like ranked like number 7 out of natural sciences for like 3 days straight. I was like, hell yeah! I'm like, but now I'm back down to where I normally am. I was like, I didn't sustain, but I was like, at least for a couple days I look popular.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's huge, brother.
But
Yeah, it's a chess match trying to understand this, and the other thing is that there's so many different algorithms, and they all have different rules, and you're trying to hit it right on all of them, and I just don't know how to do it. I just am not sure, but I'm very blessed and thankful that the number of people that do listen to my shows continue to come back, and it does grow. And I haven't set any records for this huge audience rush, but I've seen growth, and I'm really really grateful for that. And I really, other than social media, I don't advertise anything that I do, so it's got to be word of mouth maybe that. And every once in a while I'll catch those lists. Hey, name your top 10 paranormal podcasts out there, and I'll learn about new shows that I didn't know were out there, and I check them out, and it's cool. I have a lot of fun doing that too, just to see what other people are doing. But it's always a real kick in the pants, like woo, when somebody says my show. It's like, oh, hey. So it's very very strange.
no.
It's a strange world we're in, brother.
I always try and encourage people to leave ratings. I posted something about that yesterday too. Like not just for me, but like any podcast out there that people listen to. Like if you
Right.
look 5 stars, I know that helps the algorithms. For some reason, it shows like it's not like a ranking, but like it triggers something to where the more that they get, it shows that like there's more interaction, more people like it. So they put it out there more discoverable for people.
Right. Yep.
Like I try and say that like every episode, like, hey, if you like the show, click 5 stars.
Yes.
And then I look at the ratings don't move. I was like, well, I know how many listeners I have, and like I know what the ratings are. Like, there's really no one clicking that button for like 1 second. But
Yeah. But I don't think people understand. I think they just don't really understand how much impact that has
mm,
on on how many people find your shows. And you just think about it like in terms of when I'm buying something on Amazon, it's something I can't put my hands on. The first thing I do is run to the reviews.
right,
What are people saying about this? People that actually bought it, verified purchasers and stuff. And some of those are a plant, but I mean, through the whole body of them, if they've had a few reviews, you can get an idea whether this is crap or if it's worth your investment. And the same is true for anything, including podcasts.
yeah, that is the one thing. Like I said, I try to push that with people. I posted something yesterday about, hey, not just my show. Like, if you enjoy listening to podcasts, help them out. Leave them a 5 star rating because that does help. But
Yeah, it really does. It's
when I,
it's
when I do an episode, I usually do like almost like a call to arms at the very beginning, and I think I'm going to stop doing that this year. So there probably won't be one on this episode. But I don't think people listen, and if they do, like they just skip forward past it or whatever. But I was actually that was something else that someone complained to me about that I need to hurry up, and just get right to the content. It's boring. It's like I'm sorry that it took 2 minutes to tell you to send me an email. Yeah, if I want to be on the show, send me an email. But
yeah. What are you doing thinking about stuff like that? Come on, entertain me.
right?
Yeah.
I
There's some
try
good.
not to harp on the negatives, but like that's the things that always stick out the most to me is like when you get those negative comments. Like
Yeah, that's tough, man. Some people are just absolutely socially challenged. Like they just, my time is too bad. It's 5 minutes. I'll never get back. That kind of crap. And it's like, well, sorry, you want me to juggle? Is there more I could do? Because I'm already investing my life and my time, my energy and my passion into something to try to entertain you. But I'm sorry if it didn't reach your formula of what it should be. And I always say this, it's like, look, if you don't think the show is being done the way that you'd want to do a show, then do a show. Be
exactly.
I'll be happy to even mention your show that you're out there doing it. But, don't ever expect that my show is going to become everything you want it to be. This is my show. It's my vision, my passion, my love, and I'm doing the show that I love doing. And if that doesn't match with somebody, then maybe there's a gajillion other examples of shows out there that maybe line up better for what you're looking for, you know?
That's exactly what I was telling the people. I said, from now on, like, you don't like what I'm doing, that's fine. Go do your own show. Like,
Right.
if you have it set in your mind of what you want it to sound like, what do you want it to be, you can go 100% and get the same stuff that I have. You don't
Yeah.
have to get what I have, like, and do your own show. Like, it's simple.
Yeah, it's not building rockets, but it's not necessarily easy too. There's so much involved in all of this stuff just to do a good show that that you can feel proud of. And there's a lot of production effort. There's a lot of, I mean, God, the scheduling alone is a nightmare. Just figuring all that out,
Right.
and then getting the time and everything working is another thing. It's like those days when nothing's working. It's like, God bless it. What the hell is going on? So some days the fates seem against you, but it takes a lot out of you to do these shows. But again, it's something I love doing, so I don't feel like I'm working a day, but I know I'm investing, generally 14 to 16 hours a day into this. And hopefully it's all been, I mean, it's all been worth it anyway. I'm not saying my show has to be, huge and enormous and, I'm getting 6, 7 figures a year, but I just want it to be a show that I can be proud of, that people can enjoy listening to, that it maybe adds some value to their time or, helps them get through their days or whatever. That to me is awesome. And it's a really a special honor when I get those emails like, I found your show by accident and I love it and I really appreciate you doing it and thank you. And it's like, wow, that just really, I mean, it warms my heart like you wouldn't believe it. And as you know, I'm sure when you get those messages, it's like,
Mhm.
God, that feels good, Like this isn't just a vanity project, it's like, hey, there's more me. Come see more me, you
Right.
know. Yeah. So,
That's the stigma that, again, that I've had for myself is like, I don't put myself out there. So if this is out on the video, like this is the first time I've done it. So I've been doing it for 2.5 years at this point, and I've never put out a video other than like doing a live video or something like a live stream.
oh, sure. Yeah.
No one knows what I look like up until that happened because I'm not trying to plaster my face everywhere because I don't want the attention. So,
Sure.
and again, like you have people that are podcasters and they want that attention, but then you have people like Vic that people don't even know if he's real. And it's worked for him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, it's again, I'm sorry to bore the audience that wanted to come on here and hear other things, but very rarely do podcasters actually get to converse with other podcasters. So we had that
Right.
conversation earlier. Like you don't really get that chance to talk
Yeah.
to people unless you're involved in this because no one else can relate to it. So it's kind of one of those things like you're letting you're pulling the veil back a little bit in the sense of what goes on behind the scenes in the podcast world.
Yeah. This is what's under the hood, folks.
Mm.
And this is how we talk, I mean, this is what conversations I have with Matt all the time and with Wes and different people. It's just trying to, plot the course and bounce ideas off of each other and also bitch to each other. It's just like, oh God, you wouldn't believe this.
Right.
And like we were saying before the show, it's like I can't call my family members and say, oh, God, you wouldn't believe this. The other day I was doing a show and this happened. Can you believe that? They would just be like glazed look at me like I can't understand or relate to anything you're saying. But like when I'm talking to you, I know that whatever trials I've had, you've either had similar ones or the same ones or even different ones. And maybe we can just it's kind of like a support group, really, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's cool. It's cool to have a community. You know, a lot of people look at what we're doing and they think, oh, we must be so competitive. But I've only found the opposite. I've only found a bunch of people that are like, yeah, let's talk, let's hang out, let's do things and try ideas together. Let's bounce off of each other's shows and it's just been this really amazing community that I've found myself in, and I'm very fortunate. I mean, I really am. And now, of course, adding you to my map of friends is a really awesome thing.
Yeah. I can say though, I have found the competitive people.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it, but like there's some people out there that just want to stir the shit pot, and
Oh yeah. I agree, and I have a few names floating through my head now as well of people that I know that are always trying to
I,
leverage or put people
I
down. And
I don't know these people personally. I've never spoken to them, but somehow I made it on their shit list. So I was like, okay.
well, that's maybe a sign of success as well. If you're making the list, then you got to be doing something that got their attention.
Right. So, like I said, I just do my show. I don't pay attention to the crap that goes on in the communities, and I just do what I do. I'm.
Yeah.
I've said it like I enjoy talking with you. I enjoy talking to Matt. I enjoy talking to everybody. But like, I didn't jump into this just to make friends with people. Like, I come in here searching for something, and
Right.
if I've developed friendships with people, that's more than I ever was expecting. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like there's no experts in podcasting either. I
right.
mean, maybe there is, technically speaking, and even like having the winning formula, like a Joe Rogan, for instance.
Mm.
Maybe he could be considered an expert or someone on that level of success.
He
But
was already a celebrity, though.
that helps. That really helps.
I remember when he had hair and he was on Fear Factor making people eat donkey dong or something.
Donkey dicks. It's like, oh, hey, love this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, granted, he didn't. And there's of course a whole plethora of those people that are just transferring their celebrity into the podcasting world, and it's pretty cake for them because they come in with lucrative deals right off the bat, and they got full production arms helping them do it. But I
I,
still take a lot of pride in what we're doing.
I get annoyed, and I've only been doing this for a little while, so I understand that people are annoyed by me for what little success that I feel like I've had. But when I see like this girl Hawk Tua is like one of the top podcasting people right now, I was like, for what? Like, how
Oh,
the hell did this happen? How did society get this far? This is what people want to talk about. Want to talk to her.
see, if we were hot chicks, maybe that would work out better. I
Yeah.
don't mean any disrespect to women out there, but I
No,
mean that's the idea. It's like that's I'm not eye candy. I know that. I know that going in. So people aren't watching me for my looks, and
that's why I don't ever do video.
until today.
I don't want to scare them off.
Nah, you're a handsome looking guy.
No, I've had, like I said, there's been a few interviews that I've done videos on, but I've never released them. So it's just like, if the guest comes on, they want to be on camera, I'll talk to them on camera, but I don't ever release the video portion of it because it's like, I didn't have to.
Sure. Yeah. No, I
It's
got
an
it.
extra step that I didn't want to have to deal with because I'm already dealing with crap as it is.
Well, if the interview goes well, it's a like there's not a whole lot you have to do. If you want to throw a front end and a back end on it, like intro, outro kind of thing. But if the interview goes smoothly, you could just take it as a chunk, throw it in, and there it is.
Right. That's
Yep.
might be how I roll going on from into 2025. Like I said, I want to change things up. I want to see what I can do.
Yeah.
I'm never satisfied. I guess that's the thing I should say to and that everyone that knows me knows that's true. I'm always like literally I can do better. I'm never satisfied with myself. Like I always feel like there's a challenge I have to keep reaching for. Like I might hit this goal. I have a goal, but like that wasn't good enough. I got to keep going.
Sure.
Like I don't want to be complacent.
Right.
So,
Well, I think that honestly, that's one thing that I've developed a lot through the years of doing this too is just that we are entertainers, and we have to continue to evolve, because if you're just doing one kind of show and that's all you do, and you don't change things up and you don't try to evolve it, then I think that, with all of the competition out there, you're going to lose people over time. You may get some attention for a while, but it's not going to be long lasting because you're not developing the idea along with your audience, or, hopefully they join us on this journey as things change and evolve. But I've always been very cognizant of that, in that, when I'm doing my YouTube streams, and again, my YouTube channel is very modest. It's, only 14.2 thousand subs, and my views aren't impressive, but I love doing it because I can connect with the audience. But I'm constantly trying to develop new ideas for that, and for the podcast as well. Changing the production levels and changing out songs, and trying to create better intros and stuff like that. I think that's all important, because if you're stagnant, again, you might have some attention for a while, but over time you're going to lose it, because there's too many bright, colorful things around on the interwebs for people to be interested in.
I don't understand the YouTube aspect, in the sense, like, they claim you have to continually release something. I release every couple of days, like, a new episode.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 episodes a week. And I get less than 10% of my subscribers viewing a video.
Yeah, me too. I mean, like I said, I got 14,200 subs, but most of my videos are at like 600 views.
Yeah.
And that's 2-hour blocks. But then again, we're kind of moved into a generation of shorts and TikTok, where it's like the attention span is about 30 seconds, and that's on the long end. It's 10 to 30 seconds, and it's like, oh, they're not entertaining me, swipe, So it's maybe the longer formats are a lot tougher in that regard.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, I've watched and I creep around on other people's stuff, and it is like the 10% where, like, hardly anyone has, like, if you look at their subscriber count compared to their views, like, it's usually less than 10% of
Right.
watching the videos. Now, there is the random chance that one video does really well.
Right.
You go back and look at the last couple ones, and they didn't do that well. And then
But I wonder if that one video that does really well is even being checked out by more than 10%, but maybe you got some of the algorithm attention for some reason, and it's, it's a promotion thing, or it's just a good title or thumbnail or something, you know what I mean? Something got them through the door.
usually when I go on someone's show, I'll get like a bump the next day or something.
Right.
But then I don't know if it ever sustains, because, and I've talked with Matt about this a lot, like, my numbers have been about the same for over a year now. Like, it doesn't matter where I'm at. Like, I'll get like a big bump, and then it kind of levels back out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to do. It's like, I don't feel like I'm getting growth, I guess. Like, the follower counts and the subscriber counts are going higher, but the numbers themselves still stay around the same.
Right.
So
Well, I think a lot of people click subscribe because they maybe they liked what you're doing, or maybe you said subscribe and they went, okay, I'll just do that. But then it's like click it and forget it, and they go on to 50,000 other pages.
Right.
They don't. I don't think people track their subscriptions on YouTube at all. It's like they may have long forgotten the Paranormal Portal, but they're still listed as a subscriber, which looks good, but it also looks a little funny when you see those channels that have 70, 80,000, 100,000 subscribers, but they get 600 views per video. It's like, wait a minute.
This is
I
when I'm on any platform, like not just YouTube, like any of the podcast stuff too. Like my numbers all pretty much fluctuate around the same. Like I don't know, like I said, I don't know what to do because I'm not getting that growth. Like I get the numbers go up with subscribers and listeners and everything else, but like the numbers still equal back out to about the same every month. So I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, and maybe there's a lot of things on the back end that we just don't understand. I mean, who knows if we're even getting accurate numbers, to be honest with you. I mean, honestly, nobody knows what's going on under the hood with the algorithm on YouTube or Facebook or anywhere, Instagram, X, TikTok. We all we can do is trust this is what they're showing us. Is it accurate? Maybe.
No.
Probably, but maybe not, you know?
I know with my hosting service, and I don't want to dog on them because they're my free hosting service, but like my analytics don't always match up because I use PodTrack too.
Oh,
My
okay.
PodTrack usually has higher numbers than what my hosting service shows that I have.
Well, that's interesting. Do you run ads on your shows?
There's the dynamic ads.
Okay. Yeah. So that's almost concerning to be honest with you, because they pay a percentage based on downloads, and that people are being exposed to ads, and you get a certain CPM, but if they're not counting the CPM right.
Yeah. And then my Apple, like I can now log into my Apple account and I can actually see like my followers and subscribers, and it shows how many times like those episodes have been played on Apple. They do
Uh-huh.
not match my the other end, and they claim that because people click play, they've already downloaded, so it's not considered a download.
What?
So,
Really?
I mean, if someone downloaded it once and they listen to the episode again, you're not
Yeah.
you're not getting that counted for them listening because they've only downloaded it once, and that's all that counts as that one download.
See, that's kind of shenanigans too, right? Because if they re-listen to an episode, they're also re-listening to the ads that are being
Right.
pulled with that. So that's another hit. And you're right. I've known about that for a while, and that's kind of a little bit of a shady thing, because if they're being exposed to an ad for 5 times, let's
Right.
say they play your episode 5 times for whatever reason, well, you should be collecting on 5 impressions. But you're right, it doesn't work that way, does it?
Mm-mm. That's how it is across the board. Like my numbers are always different, and like I said, I don't know who's what's out there's listening. Like in the before, it was off by a couple thousand.
Wow. I'm
So
gonna have to check that out. You say PodTrack?
yep, PodTrack.
I'd like to do a comparison as well. Is that a subscription thing?
They want you to pay for it. I don't have the pay tier, so I don't get all their
Okay.
thing. But it's a third party tracker. You have to include that into your hosting service. There's like a link for like a tracker to thing you can put in there. At least on my end, I figured it out, but I don't know how it is with your hosting service.
Sure. Yeah. I'll
But
have to look into that, but that sounds really interesting.
yeah, I
And maybe I don't want to know. You know?
right now it literally told me I and again it said I had 8,000 listeners in the month of November, and then in the month of December I had like 6,000 and something listeners for the whole month. I was like, but my downloads were about the same.
Really? Wow.
I don't and I don't know how what they're considering a listener. They claim it's an individual, and like at least an individual downloaded an episode, so that's how they consider it a listener.
Right.
But if there was that many people listening, so they only listened to like one episode, my number should have been a lot higher based
Right.
on that, unless they only listened to like one episode and then they didn't. Like, oh, this guy sucks. I'm not listening to that again. I downloaded one episode. So like that's why I said somewhere there's something screwy going around.
Yeah, that is a little suspicious. But again, there probably needs to be like an auditing system built into this, that, we could see the same metrics they can see, rather than them sorting it out and putting it on a nice page for us,
Well, I got Timmy behind me, the tinfoil hat. So every time I see something that seems shady, it's like, they're probably cheating some money off to the side.
Well, I've thought that too. I mean, I've thought that many times. It's like, well,
How would we ever know?
right, and we wouldn't, because we can't look under their hood and see what's going on. They're just, we have to trust their integrity, and God only knows if that's valid or not. But it's sort of, there's enough going on in those aspects that make you go, that's not really good math as far as I can see. But
That is the other thing that people want to bitch about the most is happen to hear a commercial.
oh, you
Like,
know, why would we want to get compensated for taking hours of our life and invested in these things? And I always say, look, when's the last time you called a plumber and he just came over to snake out your drains for the love of the craft? It's like, no, you're going to pay him. And if somebody paints your house, they're not going to do it because they love painting. They're going to want to be compensated. And honestly, doing this stuff is incredibly expensive. The materials, the equipment alone, outside of the time investment, is exorbitant if you want to have any quality. And
Right.
it's like, why would I do this and throw a large section of my life into this and just to keep people entertained? It's like I need to make a living. I need to put food on my table. I need to pay the heating bills and the electricity and the broadband internet that I need to do a show, and the fiber actually that I have. And it's like, God, this stuff's not free,
Right.
you know? So why would we need money?
I figured it up to where just to do this is including my barn payment and everything. So I know how much I have to have per month. And people are like, oh, you're making all this money. Like, I don't make, I barely break even.
Right.
It's like the stigma is I come from a metal band. I used to play death metal. So for me, like, we never made money.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, if I broke even, then I'm feel like I'm doing a lot better now than I ever did doing a band, because in the band, like, we would drive all over the world and wouldn't even get damn gas money paid to us. Like, it's just one of
Yeah.
those things. So for doing this, it's like, hey, it took me over a year to get to the point to where I even decided to do ads.
Yeah.
I wasn't, to me, I didn't care about making the money. Like, it wasn't about that, but I was spending over $100 something a month originally just to do the show. And now that I got this thing that I made a studio and I've upgraded equipment and I've got different things and I keep getting new stuff, I keep upgrading stuff. Like I said, it never stops. It's a constant spending.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm sorry that you had to hear a commercial, and I'm sorry that you watch television and have to see commercials, because I'm pretty sure that happens too. And I'm sorry if you listen to the radio and you hear a random ad, because
Yeah.
it's just society at this point. I don't like them either, but you know what? You have to pay the bills.
Yeah, exactly. This stuff isn't free, unfortunately. And I mean, this is what I do for a living. So of course I've got to get some form of compensation for it, because otherwise I'll be like digging through the neighbor's trash, licking wrappers or something, Come on. I'm not going to do that. Sorry. I need to go to the grocery store.
Right. That's, like I said, you're never going to please everybody.
No.
And
No.
that's my biggest thing is I understand that, but it
Mhm.
still annoys me that people have to say something about it. But like, I'm sorry that I've upset the one person in the world that decided that they didn't want to hear a commercial and they don't want to listen to my show anymore. And you're going to leave me a bad review because you heard a commercial.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had reviews like that. Oh, it's a very commercial heavy, a good show, but very commercial heavy. And it's like, well, yeah, I do 2 commercials before every show. I have 2 breaks of 2 commercials each during the show, an hour show. And then there's one ad that plays after the show if anybody listens that long, So it's like, yeah, I'm sorry, but what am I thinking?
I, I removed a lot of mine, and I usually don't have that many. I have like 2 or 3 in the front and 2 or 3 at the end, and I think I have like a mid break.
Yeah.
And still complain. I was like, well, this is why I have Patreon, because at Patreon you get all the episodes, like all 2 months worth of episodes that I've already recorded over on Patreon, and they're all ad free, and it's only $1.99.
Oh, I've
Yeah,
been,
I
that's
just
one thing I haven't done that I probably need to do.
I just plugged myself too.
Good for you. Yeah, absolutely, brother.
But
Wave the flag.
so no, it's like that's how I do it. And that's how I feel. I justify it to my own self that I feel bad when I record people and the episode doesn't come out right away. It's like, it's on Patreon. I mean, it's out there. It's just
Sure.
$1.99 a month. Like, and after Patreon gets their cut, I don't make money off of it, but I feel better about it. It's out there. So
Yeah, absolutely. No, I would thought about that, about doing something like that. And the only thing that I think about, and again, this is real podcast world specific, but it's like everybody and their brother is subscribed out to 100 things right now. They're subscribed to Netflix Prime. They're subscribed to, maybe a beer of the month club, or any of the food delivery service that everybody's got a subscription thing going on. I'm like, well, do I think that enough people would be interested to become a subscriber and maybe get an extra episode? Maybe some would, but I know this is just a tough time to try to get people to be willing to do that. And it's a tough economy right now as well, which is hard for people. Like, nothing's cheap. and most of us are just trying to get by. So,
Yep. No, I have a free tier and a paid tier. Like, I
oh,
think
no.
I only have like 60 something people, I think, on there. And I think there's like maybe a dozen that actually pay the $1.99. But
Okay.
I'm just, it's a weird feeling to me that people are paying to want to hear what I have to say. Like, it just, I never thought that would happen. Like, I have a Patreon. I'm like, oh, I want to subscribe to Patreon. I was like, oh, okay. And I've had people like donate like to the show. And I felt really bad about it. I almost wanted to refund the money. Like, why are you donating to me? Like, it's just one of those things. Like, and it's just maybe one of the bad sins, I guess. But like being prideful. Like, I work for my money. I do my own stuff. Like, I'm not asking for handouts. And then
Right.
it's just
But
it's just
it's
one
a
of
nice
those things.
surprise.
Yeah.
It is. It's a nice surprise when people do that. And that, I think, speaks a lot to, them being willing to invest in that. And again, it's tough because I know there are so many listeners to my show that just aren't in a financial position to do it.
Hmm.
And so I don't push that stuff on my show. Like, hey, subscribe. And if you want to donate, do that. And I try not to because I don't want them, and then when I'm doing live streams and people do the super chat and I do, give them a automated applause and say, oh, thank you so much. That's wonderful. And I know that it probably makes the people that can't do it feel bad, but I'm like, look, everybody, there's lots of ways to support what I'm doing, and not all of it is just monetary. If you just like the videos that you check out, or hit the ratings on the podcast and give us a good review, if you just comment on the YouTube videos, just comment if you're not watching it live, and if you post one of my videos on your social media and just say, hey guys, check this out. There's so many ways to support what we're doing that doesn't require a financial investment, but just to help push us up the algorithm ratings a little. That goes a long way as well.
So I released a video before we started talking, about an hour beforehand, and I just
Mhm.
looked at it, and it's only been watched 51 times. So in the last like 3 hours, it's been watched 51 times. So it's like, and I've got, according to this, 1880 subscribers. So my YouTube isn't big, but
Right,
that's still like, I feel like for the amount of people to subscribe, and then
right.
the other day I had 80 out of the episodes from a couple days. I've only got 80 views. I was like,
My advice in that regard is take a look at when your subscribers are online. There's that chart in YouTube, and you can see when are they online, and try to aim your releases at when people are just getting there. And I think you can schedule them through YouTube, so you could
yeah,
have it uploaded and ready to go, and then it'll just release at a specific time. But try to aim that release when your listeners are most online, because I think even in cases like that, everybody's subscribed to about 50 or more channels through their YouTube journeys, and they're getting notifications, oh, so and so released all the time. But if you can hit it when they're right there and they're live, they'll see it pop up. I think you'll notice that engagement increases
okay.
just by virtue of releasing at a specific time.
Everyone keeps telling me to do more on Rumble. So I
You
made
know,
a Rumble and I've got something over there, but like I always forget about it. So I
yeah.
don't upload to. But like there's like I have like maybe 20 people subscribed. It's like as long as it's on YouTube, I don't know why I gotta go to Rumble. Like,
Well, I did it too. I've got a BitChute as well, that's supposed to sync to my YouTube. And YouTube used to be able to sync with Rumble, or Rumble used to be able to sync with YouTube. But I think YouTube's been threatened by it, so that they kind of shut that off. So you got to do it more manually. That's why I use like a Restream when I'm doing live streams, and it automatically gets distributed to Rumble. But I've got a presence there too, and I just cracked 200 subscribers over there. It's very, very modest, but I do think it's a growing platform, and I think that it may end up developing into something. I know there's some huge creators over there doing great numbers,
hmm,
but again, I think that's probably where most of the traffic is these are followers of these specific people, and
right.
then there's the rest of us going, hey, I'm here.
Like I went down more of the conspiracy realm and said things that were gonna get me thrown off the tube a lot. That
Yeah,
would be where I'd have to be because I feel like that's one of the more popular stuff over there is things that get propagated.
yep,
And I
things
don't
like
know. I don't do a whole lot of political stuff. I don't do a whole lot of the stuff. It's Tinfoil Tales, but we don't do a whole lot of conspiracy type stuff. So
Sure.
I don't feel like I fit really into Rumble.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's I think a growing community of people involved in the supernatural Fortean
Mm.
paranormal realms. I think it's there. It's just, again, getting noticed. I have gone through their catalog and looked at a bunch of other channels that are like mine, and none of them are really, blowing out the doors on it. Even bigger YouTube channels have moved over there as well, or at least have a presence there, and they have very moderate followings too. I just don't think that's really taken off. But again, what if you could go back 10 years before you actually started doing your show and starting doing your show on YouTube? Right now, you'd probably be sitting on, hundreds of thousands of subscribers
Right.
just because you were before the big rush of, millions of channels launching and trying to get attention. So that's what I kind of think of with Rumble. It's like it's still a very new platform. It's still an evolving platform but it's definitely got enough attention now that I think it's going to go the distance. It's just got to grow.
Yeah. So with my YouTube, it shows I get like just under 100 average of new subscribers a month. So
Yeah,
I was like, oh, well, that's a little over 1,000 a year. It's like, so maybe in the next 30 years, I can, I'll have a decent enough following on YouTube.
if I live long enough, I'm going to be huge. Yeah, I know. My growth is pretty similar to that too. I think right now I'm looking at it, it was like I went up 73 subscribers in the last 28 days, but there's other months where I go up like 500 or 600. So,
You know,
but generally speaking, I'm in the 100 to 200 range per month.
Mm.
I'm not breaking any records, but it's nice to see it's a net positive.
It shows me at 97.
Well, you're doing better than me then, Jesus.
It's a 97, but I've generated $30.60 for the month.
And that's, honestly for me, the ads that run on the channel are really just, maybe $50 a month or whatever. But where I make most of the little that I make on YouTube, and it's only a couple $100 a month, where I make most of it is doing live shows and people doing super chats and super stickers and things like that, and that's where it's all coming from.
I've only had that happen once, and I was doing a live stream back in the summer. But like I said, for anyone watching, if it shows this screen, it's got the call-in number now. If you try to call, I'm obviously not going to answer because that phone's going to be out here. It's the podcast line. So, but that is for when I do the live call-in show. And the plan, like you'd called in, we had audio issues when I did that one. But
Yeah,
Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time, someone's like, oh, that's too late. I was like, well, you also have to consider the fact that it's only 7 p.m. Pacific time.
right.
So
Yeah.
10 p.m. Eastern time, yeah, it might be late on the East Coast, but it's not super late. But it's not super early on the Pacific side either. So it's like, I feel like that's a decent time to try and do a live stream. And it's on a Sunday night. I don't know if anyone else is doing a live stream on a Sunday night at that time.
No,
So
I don't think so.
I feel like if this is a live call-in show, and everyone, you've been on Coast to Coast, you've hosted Coast to Coast. We've all been Art Bell influenced one way or the other.
Oh, sure. Yep.
For me, the call-in aspect is what I really like because I want to be able to like not know who's calling. Like someone calls in, what are we going to talk about? That whole aspect has always been intriguing to me because I don't know if someone's going to call in and tell me that, oh, they just seen Bigfoot or whatever. Or there's someone's going to call and tell me I'm a dipshit. Like you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Dealer's choice. Yeah.
Right. So you never know what's about to happen. Like when I open that line, like the mysteriousness of it to me just intrigues me. Like, man, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm ready to do it.
Yeah, I used to do call-ins as well, and I thought just by virtue of having call-ins available, man, the phone lines are going to be lit up, and there's going to be so many discussions. It'll be great. In fact, that was the concept of my YouTube live streams at first was I'm going to do call-ins and just talk to people like Art used to do, and like George, has on his show as well, and my God, it was like crickets most of the time.
Right.
Like nobody would call in. I even had live psychic readings on there. A wonderful lady named Deborah Varner, and it grew over time. But I thought, well, I'm gonna have a psychic on. They can get free readings, and people would call in. But when we started, it would be like, maybe one call a night for a reading, and then it was just, so what do you think about the football? You
Right.
know, you're
That
kind of trying to keep it going.
I don't plan on doing it alone. Like I'm always gonna have my concept was I'm gonna have like someone like you would be on for one episode, or I have someone like my friend on for an episode, like any other podcast. Usually when I do a live stream, I at least have one other podcaster on there for this interaction together. So it's not just me sitting there twiddling my thumbs waiting for somebody to call and never does. So
Yeah, yeah. That helps when you got someone else to just, as Tony says, riff off of.
right.
It's nice when you got someone there to riff off of. That was Tony. And he's right. I mean, it does. It certainly does. When, it gets kind of surreal. I do a lot of solo shows on my live streams, and it's fine. I'm good either way. I can keep a conversation going if I have to, and keep talking enough to fill the spaces. But it does get kind of weird, like when you're laughing at your own jokes and you're thinking, "Do I look like a psycho now?" If I say something funny and it cracks me up, then I look like I'm absolutely lost it. I've lost the farm. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
people
don't,
look wonderful.
I feel weird when I'm out here recording on my own. I'm not talking to anyone, but I'm like recording like a beginning and an intro when I'm out here talking to myself. Like I feel so weird just talking to myself.
I
Like I'm
know.
recording it, but like I'm the only one out here, so I feel like a lunatic out here talking to myself.
You know what I've done that helps me personally is I learned eye contact. And the eye contact, and I don't know if you noticed it throughout the course of our interview tonight, but I look into the camera. I look into the camera, and I do that whether I'm doing interviews for the podcast or interviewing somebody for my shows. I just always look at the camera, and that way it's like I'm still in the same space. Like it's not weird. Like there's nobody here. I feel like an idiot. I just look at the camera and I talk. And I don't know if that's a good advice or not, but it's what worked for me because, like you, I was very awkward. Like
Yeah.
what do you think of ghosts? You just try to make it seem natural. So I just started looking at the camera. And so now whether I have guests or not, I'm still having the same discussion because I still see the camera
I might try that. Like the way this camera's positioned, it's literally like directly.
at the angle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like at the angle where this is at. But like I have a screen over here that for some reason isn't working right now. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. So I've got this screen and then I got the other screen over here. So it's like right in the center screen, but it's like the prime position for me to be able to look directly with the mic here and everything else. So like
Yeah.
it works. But then my glasses reflect and I hate that. I was like, I need to go get LASIK now so I don't have to.
I didn't used to wear glasses ever, and these are actually more for farsighted stuff. But I've noticed that the prescription is lighter, and I can still read from the screen over here, which is on my right, which is where I always post articles that I'm reading on the live shows and stuff, and I started getting compliments like, "Oh, you should wear those more often. Oh, those look great." And then if I didn't have them on, they'd be like, "Put your glasses on." So, and I get the same thing. The reflections come through from my ring light, like right there. I look like a
Mhm.
cartoon character, but it's whatever.
I've got the green LEDs that go around my desk and then the reflection from the picture back here.
I like that. I like that mood lighting as well, and along with the border that you have on our screen. I don't know if the viewers will be able to see that, but it just has a cool vibe. It's like, ooh, it's got that
The green,
eldritch look.
yeah, the green has always been my favorite color.
Yeah.
So I've tried to incorporate it. Like the hat is obviously same color green up
Oh,
on there. And I came from the band thing. So I've got like the marketing scheme of how like the merch. So like you get the shirts, you get this, you get that. Like I get all this stuff.
sure.
Like I have a whole box of shirts over here just sitting up. Take them to shows. Like I sold out on a whole bunch of sizes. Like
Oh yeah.
everyone wanted smalls and mediums.
Really?
Was not the sizing that I was expecting. I thought everyone was going to want like the larger sizes. So like
Me too. I would have thought the same.
I sold out of all my smalls and mediums before I sold out of anything else. So I ordered a shitload of extra large and a
Okay.
bunch of 2X. And then I did some 3X and even a couple 4X. And then I did a couple large and then like maybe 10 mediums, 10 small. I didn't do like a huge batch, but like I did like a bunch more of the bigger sizes. And those were the ones I still have a bunch of, but all the smalls. So I had to go and do another replenish of like smalls and mediums because those were the ones, and there were more so ladies that were buying them. So it kind of made sense as to why. But
Yeah, I suppose that would be right. Yeah. You always think it's going to be some big beefy guy, especially when you get into the cryptid stuff. I mean, some of those boys are big boys that go out there looking for Squatch and are interested in it. So,
I'm a pretty big guy myself. Like I'm almost 6'4" and like 220, so large guy myself. I have to wear 2X just because otherwise it looks like the shirt shrunk and
I have to wear 2Xs because of my belly, but
But
either way.
I started to get the belly. It's a family genetics. It happens once I hit 30. It started to gut out. I was like, well,
You started to gut out.
yeah.
I love it.
Traded the 6-pack in for a pony keg, and now I've got the full-on keg.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I hope the audience out there actually listening to this realizes that I do have a personality. That was one of the last comments that I've got that it stuck with me. It was like, your show would be a lot better if you had a personality. I was like, I have a personality. You just don't see it because we're talking about things that, what am I supposed to do? Laugh?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then it tore out my tent. Oh, really? No, that's not the way you go. Yeah.
So, no. But we've been going on for about 2 hours, and I figure we could probably wrap this one up. But before we do, I want you to let everyone know where they can find you.
Probably the best place to find me is to go to paranormalportal.net. That's my webpage, my website. And you are welcome to check it out. You will learn about the YouTube. I do two very different shows. I do a podcast, which we've been discussing a lot, and a YouTube stream, which we discuss a lot. Those are two very different shows, though. The podcasts are all very much interview based. I do some where I just talk about phenomenon stuff, but mostly I'm hosting experiencers, researchers, authors, or personalities in the fields, and it's generally 45 minutes to an hour. But I do also do the YouTube Rumble feed, and that is 2-hour live streams where it's more of a variety show. So I discuss several different topics throughout the 2 hours. We'll hit ghosts, UFOs, and cryptids regularly on every episode, and it's more of a light-hearted take on a lot of it. Not that I take the material light. Of course, I'm very serious about that, but just the atmosphere is a lot more fun and playful, and we have a good time with that. So that's the best way to find me is paranormalportal.net. And if any of you out there would like to come on my show as well, please feel free. On the paranormalportal.net, there's a button on the top half of the page, and it says interview me. If you click that, it launches my scheduling app, and you can pick from days and times that I've outlined for interviews and pick what works for you, and it'll email both of us, and it'll automatically be added to my calendar. So that's great, because I tried to do the notepad and paper and post-it notes, and I ended up dropping the ball a whole bunch. So I was like, I need help. So the app does it for me.
So I've thought about that, but I still have the old calendar over here on this side, and
Yeah.
right now I get it in my Zoom app. I send them links or whatever, so I have it on multiple things. But no, definitely anyone out there listening, make sure to check out Brent's show. Make sure to get a hold of him. Brent, it's been a pleasure.
It's been awesome, brother. Thanks again for having me on, and I really enjoyed this discussion. Not because I think what I enjoyed most about it was like you said, it's like a look underneath the hood of what we do, and I hope people find that interesting. Obviously, I don't discuss this kind of stuff often, but I enjoy talking about it, and you were able to listen to both of us just, talk about our experiences. So thanks, man. It was a blast. I really enjoyed talking to you, getting to know you, and I want to get you on the portal, so we'll have to talk.
Yep, we'll get something figured out. But we're going to wrap this one up. So thanks to Brent. Thanks for listening, and we'll check you on the next one.
I heard a story late last night about something lurking along the wood line. Huge footprints, strange lights in the sky. They claim it's nothing, but I know they lie. It's easier to laugh in my face, but Something about this makes me say, what if it's real? What if they knew? What if the answers are coming from you? Spinning stories, wasting my time, hearing voices, is it all in their minds? They can call me crazy, but I just want some proof. What if it's true? What if it's real? What if it's true? What if the world's not what we knew? Tinfoil Tales, pulling me in, a story that starts where the logic ends. What if it's real? What if it's true? The answers are waiting, they're waiting for you. They see a dog man walking, or maybe a mothman flies above the buried giants, hidden beneath the lies. They say it's just stories, it's all make-believe. Fairy tales for the things we can't perceive. They want to keep us blinded, they want to break our will. But I'm not buying it, I'm not swallowing another pill. Force-fed poison, the lies we're made to believe. What if the truth could set us free? Alien signals traveling through time, secret space programs erasing their minds. They call them crazy, but I just need some proof. What if it's true? What if it's real? What if it's true? What if the world's not what we knew? Tinfoil Tales, pulling me in, a story that starts where the logic ends. What if it's real? What if it's true? The answers are waiting, they're waiting for you. They laugh, they lie, we all could die, but the signs are there if you open your eyes. Aliens, cryptids, demons, ghosts, the Nephilim too. What if it's me? Or what if it's real? What if it's real? What if it's true? What if the world's not what we knew? Tinfoil Tales, pulling me in, a story that starts where the logic ends. What if it's real? What if it's true? The answers are waiting, they're waiting for you. It's all in our heads, it's all in our minds. These voices can't be silenced, the truth must rise. Tinfoil Tales, it's pulling me through. What if it's real? What if it's true?